What is up, guys? Welcome back. I'm Kevin Crates. This is the channel where we go over a bit of crypto news followed by 5 charts every day. Today we're looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Luna, ADA, and AXS. And as always, if you're just here for a specific chart, timestamps are down in the description below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that bell on to catch all daily uploads. Another wild 24 hours in the market, Bitcoin pushing up into the mid 32,000s, then crashing back down hard to the low 31,000s. And now we see again this morning, it is pushing up towards 32K. Ethereum still hanging around 1900. Everything is having a bit of a pump, but this looks like a tight consolidation by Bitcoin in my opinion. And I'm expecting prices to trend down lower in the coming days. And again, guys, don't get me wrong, if Bitcoin can push above 33.5K, which we'll look at later on in the video in the charts, things could get bullish, but overall these little pumps are expected. It's just tight consolidation as prices are trending lower. Going through our overview here this morning, there is not much to shout out. AMP up around 14%. Helium, HNT also having a bit of a pump up around 7%. Other than that, there is not much stand out going on in the market. Prices seem to still be stuck in a heavy downtrend. And I just want to shout out ETH for a moment. If you guys are following me on Twitter, you know I've been tweeting about this since it was around $2. Personally, I've been following it since it was around $1. It pushed a high of 770 this morning. I sent some tweets out about it last night. If you're not following me on Twitter, Kevin Crates _ on Twitter. I'm extremely active on there. We go over many more charts than we do here on YouTube. I may do a video soon just on ETH and NFT plays. I'm just trying to schedule that all in, but I just did want to bring ETH to your attention because as far as NFT plays goes and Axie Infinity and everything that it has started, Axie Infinity is not going to be the last. Axie Infinity was the first domino in an NFT gaming revolution, in my opinion, and watching plays like ETH pump and so many more is only more evidence of that. Jumping into some headlines, we have Bitcoin mining in the news again, the longest streak of negative mining difficulty adjustments in 10 years for Bitcoin. Bitcoin's network went through another negative mining adjustment in the past 24 hours with a decrease of nearly 5%. With this one, the world's largest blockchain has registered its worst streak of 4 consecutive difficulty declines for the first time in roughly 10 years. The article shows here the last time there were 4 or more negative readjustments in a row was nearly 10 years ago between August and November of 2011. And this is why we keep a close eye on all Bitcoin mining news here, is because the relocation is not FUD. It is going to take time and it has so many obstacles that it probably hasn't even approached yet. So as far as price action goes, it's going to be affected as the Bitcoin mining relocation drags on. We had Luna making headlines. Crypto investors like Terraform Labs so much they're committing $150 million to its ecosystem. The Singapore-based company has apparently been gaining ground fast with merchants and users in South Korea by shortening settlement time from days to seconds, often without e-commerce customers knowing that their online and sometimes offline transactions involved a blockchain. It's been doing so well that it's launched an e-commerce wallet called Chai that's grown popular in Asia. So I decided to look into it and I found this article from June 11th. Terra partners with mobile payment app Chai to service the growing e-commerce market. And Chai is currently available on Tmon, which is one of the largest e-commerce platforms in South Korea with over 10 million users. And these are all massive headlines for Terra Luna, and $150 million investment into their ecosystem is no joke, and that is why we'll be diving into the Luna chart later in the video. And we had Ethereum making headlines. Ethereum's price could surpass $3,000 by the end of August, expert says amid major update. And that update is in reference to the London hard fork, which is launching on August 4th. And we're going to be keeping a very close eye on all London hard fork news here because of what we saw with the testnets and how much Ethereum was able to pull up the entire markets. And with August 4th being just a little over 2 weeks away, we're going to be keeping a very sharp focus on this date. We had some interesting news out of El Salvador. El Salvador may issue its own stablecoin. The government of El Salvador has plans to launch a native cryptocurrency that consumers will be able to use for services. The stablecoin is being referenced as the colon dollar, and I did look through a few articles about this because there is a bit of a debate. Some say the colon dollar is being developed. Others claim the Salvadorian stablecoin idea was scrapped. This part of the article was interesting though. The president's brother reportedly met with representatives from Cardano, WizGrid, and Algorand at different times. So as far as the stablecoin being real, it's interesting, but it's not that interesting to me. What is interesting is the president of El Salvador meeting with Algorand and Cardano. And if you watched the video yesterday, you do know that we talked about Cardano releasing statements about DJED, their own stablecoin project. And don't get me wrong, guys, I'm not saying that El Salvador is definitely working with Cardano or Algorand on some kind of stablecoin project. But it is interesting that a few days after Charles Hoskins tweets, "Been busy working on his own stablecoin project," we hear that the El Salvador president, who's apparently had meetings with Cardano amongst a few other blockchains, has been talking about their own stablecoin project. So for those reasons, we're going to be keeping a close eye on all new stablecoins, Cardano and El Salvador. And we had my favorite headline of the day, are Mike Tyson and Busta Rhymes looking to get into crypto? So we had Mike Tyson tweeting, "Which do you prefer, Bitcoin or Ethereum?" And Busta Rhymes asking if they're teaching about cryptocurrencies in schools. And this is just always great to see more mainstream celebrities and more mainstream attention to the crypto space. Looking at Bitcoin's daily chart, we got our notes from the other day, but there are a few new things I want to point out to you all. You see the stochastic RSI is low and it's curving bullish. We also see here that the RSI, which was on an uptrend, got invalidated here, which kind of confirmed the downtrend, but this is not necessarily on a downtrend. And I'm going to point out to you guys why. You see the scooping motion on the RSI right here. You see the scooping motion in price action as well with the long wicks. So this support right here around 31 is holding with this scooping motion on the RSI as well as the price action, not to mention how low the stochastic RSI is on the daily. So what may happen and what usually does happen when I see this is you're going to see this kind of curve up, curve down, punch up. So we're going to see in price action curve up, curve down, punch up. When this punches up, a lot of people are going to get liquidated, so the price may even go higher. As far as price targets on the move, I would kind of watch out for 33.5. Makes sense on this downtrend we've been watching. May even reach 34.5, but you just got to watch out for this because a lot of people are going to see this and get crazy bullish, and this is not necessarily a reason to get bullish. A move like this can just keep moving down. This is just a pressure building that's going to push up in price. It can happen. It won't definitely happen, but it is something I can see kind of building up that I'm going to be keeping a watch for. So as far as price targets, I'm still looking at 30K to 28K, but let's take a quick look at the Ichimoku chart. Looking at Bitcoin's daily Ichimoku chart, we're going to turn our notes on from the other day. And if you're not new here, you can see I've added a new price target of around 34.5. And the reason for that price target is we're going to keep our focus on what we were talking about earlier in terms of the RSI scooping motion, the price action scooping motion. Stochastic RSI is crazy low and ready to turn bullish. So what would happen here is you'll see a bit of a pullback and then a punch up in price. And with price action, it's going to pull back, punch up in price. It's going to run into this conversion line around 33.5. Makes sense on the other chart, right? So it could push down there. If it doesn't push down there, and it may not because of the amount of liquidations that would happen at that speed, is that it may go all the way up to 34.5, maybe even higher. But this would be a very interesting resistance for Bitcoin because it has not challenged the Kumo cloud since the initial crash. It tried to back in about mid-June around 41,000, didn't quite work. But this is not a reason to get bullish. If it pushes up to around 34.5, it's still not time to get bullish. Even if it pushes a little bit into the cloud around 35,000, I would wait for maybe around 30, let's say around 37, 38,000. But that would be an area where maybe it could turn bullish. But prices overall, my price targets are still around 30,000 to 28,000. But this is a move that could happen as far as price targets go. It could push up to 34,000, 35, work its way back down. But I wanted to put this on your guys' radar because this is something that could happen. And charts are not an exact science. This is just probability. But it's looking like that is the pressure that's building up in the chart. So I'd be watching out for a fast move to 34.5. If it manages to get above 35.5, 36, it might be time to go bullish. But overall, this is not going to be a bullish move. This is just kind of expected, and it's going to have to, let me just delete all of this. Actually, I'll just hide all these notes so you can see it a little bit better, that it's just going to be challenging the Kumo cloud, and a final rejection on the Kumo cloud would be a reason for it to head down to these price targets of around 30,000 to 28,000. So as far as price targets go, I would watch out for the resistance around 35,000. But as far as my price targets for the time being for Bitcoin are around 30,000 to 28,000. Looking at Ethereum's daily chart, if we turn on notes on from the other day, you can kind of see here that the RSI is doing the same thing the Bitcoin's doing. That it was on an uptrend, fell off. It's now kind of curving here. Price action is curving not as intensely as Bitcoin. So as far as price targets for this, I would kind of watch out for it to shoot up towards 22.5 maybe even just 2,000 where it might be capped off. But this isn't necessarily going to definitely happen. I mean, if I wanted to look for confirmation that it's not going to happen, maybe it drops below 1840. But as long as price is in the scooping motion, it's just something to watch out for, that it may pull back and shoot right up towards 22.6, maybe even 2,000. Not necessarily bullish. If it does start to creep towards 25,000, then the tide might be changing for the market. But as far as price targets for Ethereum, I'm still watching out for around 1,700 to 1,500. Let's take a quick look at the Ichimoku chart. Looking at Ethereum's daily chart, we're going to turn our notes on from the other day, and we're going to keep our focus on this potential scenario that may be playing out. We see here the RSI curving. Our stochastic RSI is low. So as far as price targets go, it may be rejected here around 2,000 if there is this punch up in price. If not, you kind of watch out for it to potentially even challenge the Kumo cloud again, which would be around 2,200, which makes sense on the other chart as well. So I would keep an eye on these resistance targets as far as Bitcoin and Ethereum goes, because if this does play out, it's going to be a fast move, and some people may think it's bullish when it's not. Looking at Luna's chart, if we zoom in here and look at the RSI on this chart as well, we're going to see this probably on every chart we look at for the next little while. The RSI is starting to scoop. Stochastic RSI is low. So we're going to look at high price targets as well as low price targets. In the event of a pump, Luna's going to have to get back above the 200 EMA. So you would look for it to get above around $8. If it gets above $8, above 8.5, it could make a push for around $11. Any of these higher price targets, there would have to be something really driving price action. In terms of a crash, I would watch out for around $5.6 to $5. In an extreme crash, around $3.8. And as far as the lowest end of a crash, I would look out for 2.9. Let's take a quick look at the Ichimoku chart. Looking at Luna's daily Ichimoku chart, I've put this price target here because this is very interesting. It's pushed into the Kumo cloud, scooping motion in the RSI, stochastic RSI is low. So in the event of this punch up in price that I'm talking about across the market, Luna would max out around 11.2, 11.1, which adds to the other chart that we were just looking at. And anything above that price target, we'd be in bullish territory. We'd have to start looking at higher price targets. But let's keep our eyes on some lower price targets as well in terms of a crash. Looks just like the other chart, around 4.3, which is in between just under $4 would be the low end of that crash. And if we come up here, this is probably going to be around 5.5. So I kind of watch between $4 to $5 in the event of a crash for Luna. On the low end, I don't think it would go much lower than that, to around $3. So somewhere between $5.5 to $4 for Luna, but I would watch out for this punch up in price across the market. Again, keep in mind, this isn't definitely going to happen, but it is just something to watch out for. As far as high price targets, I'd look for resistance around 11. As far as low price targets, I'd look for support around $4. Taking a look at Cardano's daily chart, this is still a very bullish looking chart, riding above the 200 EMA on the daily, just kind of dipping down a couple times. If we turn our notes on from before, you see here that the lower price targets are just around $1. I can't see Cardano going below $1. Maybe on the extreme end, it would dip to around 80 cents, but that's pretty unlikely. Stochastic RSI is low, so it should start pushing up in price. But if there is a crash, I'd watch for somewhere between 110 to $1. And on the higher end, I'd look for these price targets of 141 to 159. Let's take a quick look at the Ichimoku chart. Looking at Cardano's daily Ichimoku chart, let's turn our notes on. You can see here the price targets on the low end. I really can't see anything going below $1 for Cardano. On the crazy end, maybe around 80 cents, but I think that's highly unlikely as far as Cardano goes. I would call $1 absolute bottom. And in terms of resistance, 132 is a major resistance. 172 and above, things could get pretty bullish. On the 4-hour chart, you get a bit of a clear picture. 122 would be the resistance for the time being. If it can build support above 122, I would watch for a push towards 126. Anywhere above that, and you get to this area around 132, which is the major resistance. And also notice this uptrend in the RSI on the 4-hour. And also the stochastic RSI is high on the 4-hour, but that doesn't mean that it can't come down here, build support, and move back up. So as far as price targets for Cardano go, on the lowest end, I'd say $1, but on a crash, I kind of watch more around 110 to 114. Maybe a little bit below, but as far as it goes, I don't think it can go much lower than $1. Higher price targets, 132 is a major resistance, and for the time being, 126 would be the smaller resistance. So price targets for ADA would be around 132 on the highest end and around 110 on the low end to $1. Looking at AXS's daily chart, we've been following AXS pretty much every day, so let's turn our notes on from before. As far as low price targets go, it is trying to come back down to around the $16 price range, and I'll show you on the Ichimoku chart why I think that is possible. Stochastic RSI is extremely low on the daily. I really don't think this is done. I'm going to show you on the other chart in a moment why. I would imagine maybe it reaches this price target of just around $16, $17, potentially works its way back up, but AXS is a very bullish looking chart. Let's just jump over to the Ichimoku chart. Looking at AXS's daily Ichimoku chart, if you see here, it's trying to pull back towards this price target of around $16. And if we turn this on, you can see here why that is a possibility. However, let's jump over to the 14-hour chart. You can see here that this support of around $17 is important, but I would imagine, judging by these candles, that it may push a little lower to around $15 to $16 is a possibility on the lower end. You have to keep in mind how much this pumped recently. A pullback is pretty much expected. I still think AXS is not done in terms of pumping in price, but this pullback is pretty much supposed to happen at this point. I mean, it can't just keep going like this. And this hard candle pushing downwards, this kind of was our indication that the pump is temporarily over. If I turn all this off, this is still a very decent looking chart, and a pullback to even 15.9 is not bearish. This is still a bullish chart, and if you see here, stochastic RSI still extremely low. This can curve up in the coming days and push up in price. So as far as price targets would go for AXS, I'd kind of keep my eye out. Make sure this $17, $16 support holds. Anything below that, I kind of watch this range here. Let me put a price target so it's easier to see. Just around $15. If that holds, I would look for resistance around, it'd be around 19. I'd want this to get back above $20. If this can get back above $20, build support, push up, get above 23.5, things could get bullish. But price targets for AXS, I'd watch for a pullback towards 16. On the low end, I'd watch for a pullback towards 15. In terms of resistance, I would watch for resistance around 19. I'd want it to get back above 20. And on the highest end, I'd look for resistance around 23.5. All right, folks, that's all for today. If there's any charts you want me to look at in the future, leave it down in the comments below. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button and turn that bell on so you get those notifications. If you're not following me on Twitter, KevinCrates_ on Twitter. I'm extremely active on there. Anytime you tweet at me, I will always tweet back at you. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I'm out.